Hey folks, those of you who are old enough to remember January 2024 may remember that time that conservative circles passed around a very silly video of a teacher leading his student to the conclusion that JK Rowling is not transphobic. The teacher in question, one Warren Q. Smith, I added the middle initial because you need a bit of a punchier name in this biz, posed as a strong critical thinker, talking the unnamed student through a short series of questions that ended with the conclusion that based on the evidence laid out, namely JK Rowling's, as I said previously, semi-infamous "I stand with my Forstater" tweet, we have no evidence to conclude that JK Rowling is a transphobe.
Like you said at the beginning of this conversation, you said, given the fact that JK Rowling is transphobic, how do you feel about Harry Potter? Now, retroactively looking at that statement, do you think that that was the best way to phrase?
No, I feel like an idiot now.
To put it delicately, that video sucks ass. Smith fails to ask very basic questions that would have instantly proven his conclusion wrong and completely ignores the objective, undeniable fact that JK Rowling's tweet included a provable lie that completely altered the context of her statement. Smith did a very bad job at critical thinking at the most basic level and ultimately did a better job of demonstrating how bad the anti-trans movement is at deciphering basic facts than anything to do with Rowling's perceived social innocence. Thankfully, Warren now knows that JK Rowling lied in the tweet in question and that he did not properly follow through with his critical thinking goals. How do I know this? Because he saw my video on the subject, wherein I lay out exactly why he failed at critically evaluating the situation, and precisely why Rowling's statement was a knowing falsehood. Here he is, commenting. Now, to be clear, I don't think I'm some sort of special super genius. Anyone who is actively engaged in the critical thinking process could have noticed where Warren failed to properly evaluate the topic at hand. It just so happened that I made a video on the subject and Warren saw that video. Feel free to watch that one for context, but today I want to focus on Warren's more recent output. He still posits himself as a critical thinking educator, so maybe he's improved since last I thought about him. He still retweets JK Rowling, so I guess he's forgiven her for lying, but let's take a look at his YouTube channel. In particular, let's take a look at this video. John Oliver's lies are finally exposed by 14-year-old girl. For full clarity, I will not be discussing statistics or data in this video, both because Warren fails to do that, and because my primary aim with this video is to highlight how this supposed critical thinking educator is atrocious at employing basic critical thinking. Do not expect a comprehensive refutation of the minutia of this video's subject matter, because that's not what I'm making here. Warren's video is a bit weirdly edited, but it is basically structured in variations on the following formula. A clip of John Oliver is played, Warren responds with a quip, Warren plays a clip of a 14-year-old athlete who lost a race to a trans girl, and Warren quips once more. Rinse and repeat. Take it away, Warren.
Regarding youth sports, there were a lot of attack ads on that one issue, and it was frustrating to see the Harris campaign fail to formulate a response.
It's really easy to win this debate. I'll do it right now.
Especially because it's pretty easy to do. Watch, I'll do it for you right now. As we've discussed before, there are vanishingly few trans girls competing in high schools anywhere.
I raced against a transgender athlete in the 1600-meter race.
We're looking at an example right now. So when John Oliver says, well, there's no examples, this is very rare, there's no harm is actually being done, here it is.
All right, less than a minute in, and we already have some serious problems. Let's start with the immediate. Warren attempts to summarize John Oliver's point in 3 sentences.
So when John Oliver says, well, there's no examples, this is very rare, there's no harm is actually being done, here it is.
In particular, I would like to direct you to the fact that 2 of these sentences are transparently not even close to what John Oliver said. John Oliver did not say, there are no examples of trans girls in girls' sports, nor did he say, no harm has been done. What Warren has done here is a big red flag for any critical thinker: fail to listen to his opponent's arguments. As we will soon realize, the point John Oliver is making in this segment is not that the subject of trans sports inclusion doesn't have nuance worth discussing. The point he is actually making is that it is such a statistically insignificant issue that it does not deserve to be national conversation, a fact which Warren flatly fails to engage with, as evidenced by my second problem with this clip, which I will now present to you in a dramatic reenactment as I'm told YouTubers are supposed to do. Hello, I, John Oliver, speak in a suspiciously poor English accent, and I would like to point out that trans girls and girls' sports are a vast statistical minority, as we discussed in a previous episode, and are nowhere near one of the largest issues facing girls today. Aha, Mr. Oliver, I see that you've referenced data and an episode of your show where I can go to learn more about your position. Well, I see your statistics, but have you considered anecdotes? You can rate my accent 10 out of 10 in the comments. Seriously, that is the level of argumentation that we're on here. Warren, you have the art of critical thinking in your YouTube bio, and you tripped at the hurdle of anecdotes are different from data. I don't know if it's possible to overstate what a ridiculous blunder this is to make from a person who claims to be good at this sort of thing. John Oliver says this is a vast minority of cases, and Smith replies with, well, here's a singular example of it happening, so it looks like you've been exposed. But hey, let's keep going. Later in the video, Warren intersperses what I assume he believes are ironic comments by Oliver.
We spoke up because boys racing against girls at this level of competition isn't right and it isn't fair.
And there is no evidence they pose any threat to safety or fairness.
So in this clip, we have the 14-year-old saying trans girls and girls sports isn't fair, not citing evidence, mind you, nor would I expect her to, she's a child. And then a clip of John Oliver referencing data suggesting that this claimed unfairness is not statistically defensible. Now, again, I'm not making a statement on the accuracy of Oliver's claims here. I haven't read many of the studies that he's referring to. What I'd like to call attention to is that the entirety of the point that Smith thinks he's making here is John Oliver says X is false. This 14-year-old says X is true. Checkmate, liberals. That is literally all that is communicated by this clip. John Oliver exposed by a teenager saying John Oliver's opinion is wrong. Here's what he plays next.
It felt like we were being told to shut up, stop complaining, and just deal with it.
It is very weird for you to be so focused on this subject.
All of those biological girls sitting up there next to me had worked just as hard as I had throughout the entire season. But at that moment, our hard work and talent did not matter.
So the point I assume Warren is trying to make here is that John Oliver is a jerk for calling this 14-year-old weird simply because she's concerned about her sporting career. The only problem with this, of course, is that John Oliver wasn't talking to this teenager or her family or her friends or anyone even remotely connected to her. He was addressing Republican politicians and the Harris 2024 campaign. Playing these clips back to back as though Oliver was personally shit-talking a child or anything even remotely approximating shit-talking a child is the height of dishonesty. John Oliver was speaking to an entirely different audience than this girl, and Warren has made absolutely zero case as to why he thinks that shouldn't matter. He's simply expecting his audience to immediately accept his disingenuous framing of the issue.
The art of critical thinking.
Two more comments about this video and then I'll move on.
A 14-year-old with remarkably more wisdom and grace than John Oliver, a grown adult. That is sad to see.
Maybe this is petty, but it still demonstrates Warren's seeming inability to grasp what context is. The reason that this child's speech came off more mature than John Oliver's is because this child was trying to tell a personal, emotional story, and John Oliver is running a late-night comedy show. What's next? Are we gonna play clips of children giving eulogies and complaining that John Oliver isn't as mature as they are? And finally, let us turn our attention to the overall contents of this video. Notice, viewers, that none of the clips I played included accusations of John Oliver telling lies. None of the clips I played suggested that John Oliver was exposed in any way for any sort of dishonesty, and that wasn't a coincidence. This entire video on the Warren Smith YouTube page is an expression of disagreement. Smith is attempting to argue that John Oliver is wrong about a topic, never once suggesting that he lied, and indeed showing evidence that John Oliver has already taken these outliers into account. And yet, Warren titled his video with the claim that John Oliver was being exposed for lies. He even put it in the thumbnail. In essence, the liar here is Warren for falsely advertising the contents of his video. It is for these reasons that I have titled my own video as I have. By lying about the contents of his own video, Warren has given me the push I need to jump from "this guy is a hack" to "this guy knows he's lying." At the outset, as early as February of this year, I was suspicious of Smith's seeming inability to exercise critical thinking despite making his critical thinking skills the centerpiece of his online presence. To me, that suggested two likely possibilities. Either Warren does not have anything approaching a meaningful understanding of critical thought and is moving through life with an obscene level of unearned confidence, or he is knowingly adopting the aesthetics of critical thought in an effort to push a political agenda. There are other possibilities, of course, but I found one of the two of these to be the most probable. Now, having seen him flatly misrepresent the contents of one of his works, combined with the examples of embarrassing critical thinking failures I've laid out here, I'm leaning towards the latter option. Personally, I struggle to think of a person who edits their videos so deceptively, taking quotes out of context to imply a person is saying something much more offensive than they are, then misrepresents the contents of those videos as anything but a knowingly dishonest party. See what I did there? My video title accused this person of being a grifter, and then the ensuing video actually attempted to substantiate my claim. It's wonderful what what you can do with the power of thinking ahead. Anyhow, night's still young. Let's look at a couple more examples to drive home my point. In his video, Joe Rogan exposes Barry Weiss in a lie against Tulsi Gabbard, which, if anyone watching this is going to go to Warren's channel and watch one of his videos, I do recommend you watch this one because it's incredibly funny to watch him fundamentally misunderstand the concept of casual conversation. He repeatedly makes digs at Barry Weiss for saying things like she's pretty positive about something, because you can't be pretty positive. You can only be 0% positive or 100% positive.
Anytime someone says, I'm pretty positive about that, that's an oxymoron. I'm pretty positive, those two words cancel each other out. You can't be pretty positive. You're either positive or you're not.
Or pulling out her phone to verify a claim that she just made, because you know you've gone wrong when you pull out your phone on Joe Rogan for some reason.
Marriage and civil unions that she apologized for and said that she evolved.
You know you've made a mistake when you start pulling out your phone while you're on Joe Rogan.
I guess I missed class the day they taught us that a major portion of critical thinking is based on aesthetics over substance. In this video, Warren puts forth the thesis statement that we should be inherently skeptical of people who throw out accusations without actually substantiating them.
Good for you, Joe. That is as you should be, as we all should be. We should not allow conversations like this to go unchallenged. When you hear someone throwing out accusations loosely, just ask the basic logical questions. What does that mean?
And then, I shit you not, throws out an accusation that Barry Weiss falsifies her political opinions for financial gain without substantiating himself.
Is Barry Weiss not deferring to others for self-serving reasons when she completely changes her political positions in order for financial reasons for the free press?
I cannot emphasize enough that he does not follow up on this claim at all. He just throws it into the ether. He just made an entire video implying we shouldn't trust people who don't back up their accusations, and then threw in some unsubstantiated accusations.
The art of critical thinking.
On November 25th, Warren posted a video entitled Bill Maher Finally Exposed TV's Most Famous Fake Scientist, referring to Neil deGrasse Tyson as the fake scientist. The video does not at any point even attempt to substantiate that Tyson is a fake scientist, an obviously false claim. It is simply an assertion made without evidence. This is both an example of reckless disregard for the truth on Warren's part, as well as an explicit example of hypocrisy, as we saw in the Barry Weiss video. Warren doesn't like it when you make accusations without substantiating them, except every single time that he does that. And I suppose we can probably end things here. I'm incredibly disappointed to see the route this guy went down, not just in that his implied political positions are very dumb, but also that he's an atrocious critical thinker. He appears to not have any real interest in self-reflection, or if he does, he's terrible at showing it. He dishonestly edits and titles his videos, and he acts baffled by the concept of unscripted conversations in order to poison the well against his opposition. Given the context that I've laid out, I feel the most probable explanation for this behavior is intentional dishonesty, whether motivated by financial gain, social capital, or something else. I could be wrong in this assessment, but this is how it appears to me. If, for some reason, Warren, you're watching this, I would be happy to discuss with you further, publicly or privately. I know you like to do debates. Sent you an email a while back, not like upset you didn't respond. That's life, I don't care. I feel, though, that I have been fairer to you than you have been to the subjects of your critique, so I don't really see any reason for my commentary to be dismissed out of hand, which I feel like is just the route that a lot of people go down these days. That said, thank you all for watching. Check out an excerpt from my book, The Empath, in the description, and I will see you in 2073.